Folks, welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Right, now for today, this is just going to be the first ride on the Hayabusa. So I'm going to do a little intro and a little walk around, show you the bike. I know you've already seen it. I've had this thing for about 6 months now, but I've been using it for best, and that's not really the way. The Bandit's off the road. That's going to be used for a project once I know what we're doing with this move. But for now, the Hayabusa is pressed into service every day. It's going to be my work commuting bike, and it's going to get washed and cleaned. Now, a lot of people aren't lucky enough to have two bikes, and I have been in this instance. We've worked hard, we've put some money away, and we've managed to get something like this. So it needs to be used, it needs to be ridden all the time. And I've been doing probably 2 or 3 days of it this week, and just get used to it. We've done about 300 or 400 miles with Penny Pits up on the back. She's an amazing pillion, so she's given me her review as well. And all I want to do today is show you around it, give it a walk round, show you what it looks like. I know you've seen them, I know they all look very much similar. A couple of little jobs I've done to it. And then we're going for a ride. So there we are. Stick around. Stay tuned. Sweet. Hey, there she is. Absolutely gorgeous. They really are. Aesthetically, an amazing bike. This whole front end thing, just the way that looks is awesome. I don't think the Blackbird looks half as good. I think the GSX-14, they've tried to make a brutal looking front end, but I don't think it looks as good as that. A couple of things I haven't videoed just because they're boring and I haven't bothered. I put HID or high intensity discharge light kit in it. It's just one of those bluey glow lights because it's dark round here, and all of that was up underneath there working in the back of the fairing. You take the inner panel off, you can't video that, it's impossible. You can't see in there yourself, you can't even get 2 hands in there. You're kind of doing it all with one hand, and oh, it's mad. I think like a gynecologist working up there trying to fiddle around and get it all plugged in, but it's done, it's working, that's good. Done the bar lift kit as well, which is it's kind of this stuff here. It's just 4 of these little slugs. You saw them when we unboxed them, and the longer bolts. Really not a video, honestly not a video, not interesting enough. You just take this off, take these bolts out, lift that up, poke those under, put the bolts through. It's as easy as that. Anybody can do it. You can also use it to lower the fork legs, because you normally only get this little hole here with or through which to adjust these adjusters, but to be honest, now that's up by 1 inch. You can adjust that, drop the front, and as you know by looking at internet or whatever, you'll also see that most people drop the front of their Hayabusa. I don't see why, because it handles amazingly as it is. So there we are. I'm going to do a little ride review, not the usual Clarksonisms. I'm not into that. I just want to regard and relay, should I say, what me and Penny have found about this bike in our distance and time riding it together. We've done about 400 miles together. I've done about 100 miles on my own. It is an astonishing motorcycle. It truly is. It's not the brutal bitch that you think they are. This reputation for turboing them and putting big fat back wheels and doing thousands of miles an hour, it's all just waffle, bravado, trousers. What it is a superb touring bike. So there we go. Let's get geared up, go for a little ride, see what we think of it. Right, so here we go. You might have noticed it's got dark. And the reason for that is that I set out to do this review or ride on the way to work, only to find that the traffic was so busy I just had to concentrate and got distracted and started gibbering. Well, gibbering more than usual. So I thought I'd do it on the way home. Roads are empty, it's midnight now. Not much about. Time for a little review on the Hayabusa. Now, obviously doing a review on a Hayabusa, can't really do it, can you? What can you review that hasn't already been done? What can you say about a Suzuki Hayabusa that hasn't been said 1,000,000 times? You're just going over old ground. Everybody knows what they're like, everybody knows the reputation. So I'm going to do a bit different. I'm not going to bother doing a review of what the bike's like. They're brilliant. So that's that covered. What I'm going to talk about is legends. Legends and icons. Legends of the motorcycle world. And I'm talking about the bikes that for one reason or another become legendary. Stuff that becomes an icon of our time. A few examples, things like the Z1000 or the Z1 before it, the original Z1.
903cc 1972. Bruff Superior, Norton Commando, Triumph Bonneville, Yamaha VMAX. The sort of bikes that appear in books that your grandma buys you at Christmas. It's bumpy. Just photographs of them because they are icons. They're stuff that everybody idolises. Harley Davidson Electra Glide. That's got to be one of the greatest. And you ask yourself the question, it's not for any given specific singular reason that a bike becomes a legend. It's many reasons. Could be it's in a film like a Fat Boy, Harley Davidson Fat Boy, Terminator 2. There's cars as well. 56 Chevy, or 55 Chevy rather, 2-lane blacktop. 32 5-window Deuce Coupe, American Graffiti. Christine, that Plymouth Fury. These cars become iconic because iconic films promote them, but some, they're not in a film. Come on. You, for instance, 59 Coupe de Ville, Cadillac Coupe de Ville. What can you not like about that? What an amazing vehicle. But the 1960, well, does anyone even know what one looked like? They're just forgotten. The vehicle that came after because it didn't get that legend status. Honda Goldwing. Love them or hate them, a Honda Goldwing is an icon. There were 4 others, or 3 I think in all. The 4 manufacturers all made one at the same time. When Honda decided that the Goldwing was their thing, all the other manufacturers had a dig. I think Suzuki made something, I think it was called the Cavalcade, which didn't go anywhere. Kawasaki made the Voyager, and they used the Z1300 platform to create this big monster, heavyweight beast of a thing. And the Yamaha Venture Royale, that's it, got my anorak on. Now obviously the only one of those that went anywhere other than the Goldwing was part of the Venture Royale. The engine out of it was a V4 from Yamaha, and it had a shaft drive, and it ended up in the VMAX being redesigned. So we got that today, and there we are, the VMAX. What an icon. Rubbish bike if you want to go around corners, same as most of the Harleys, but it's not about that. Bikes aren't judged on the same thing. I don't even know if you can stick your finger on what it is that makes a bike an icon, but some bikes just are, just because they are. Kawasaki H2 750 2-stroke's an icon because it tried to kill every single person who rode it. MV Agusta 750, it's an icon because it's Italian and worth £1 million if you can find a nice one. There's all kinds of different reasons that make a bike an icon. So, is the Hayabusa an icon? No, I don't think so. It's certainly a bit of a legend. I mean, you've got to look at the pedigree. The ancestral bloodline of the Hayabusa goes right back to 1983 with the first GSXR. Suzuki had to homologate a bike for racing, so they lobbed out the 750 GSXR. I think it was the F, the original one for Japan only. We in Britain, I think in Europe, the rest of the world got the H as their first bike in 84. And then you go back before that, the GSX bikes. And then the GS 1000, 1970 something. Same as the Zs. So all these bikes have got a fair old bloodline behind them, and I think that's possibly the developments move forward. So if you look at the first ever Jap bikes that were worth a cup of cold tea, that was probably the 70s stuff. Honda CB 750 was, I think, the first one, 1969. So you got 40 odd years of heritage, and in that 40 years, look how far they've come. Harley Davidson haven't even gone a third that far in 110 years, but that's not what they're about. They're all about heritage. And again, probably a third of the iconic bikes on the road today are Harleys. Electric Glide, Knucklehead, the Sportster. You got to give it to it. Harley Davidson Sportster is an icon. It's the one by which virtually all cruiser bikes under the big 1500s are measured. Triumph came back in the 90s, bought the badges and started making Triumphs again, started re-enlivening all the old names. A modern Triumph Bonneville's nothing like they were in the 60s and 70s. You don't need to be. The badge is all you need. It's that legend. So looking at it, let's compare it. What is it? What's it like? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's the most misjudged sports bike on the road, Hayabusa. It's kind of half Blackbird, half ZX12. It hasn't got the kind of pipe and slippers feel of a Blackbird, and I did own one. Just felt it was a bit dull. Quick bike, capable, but just a bit grey, you know? And the ZX12, well, they're just horrible. They're just a thug of a bike. Harsh, abrasive, unrefined, and hard work to live with. Hard work to turn corners. Every time you ride it, it wants to try and hurt you. So you mix the two together, and I just think you come up with a Hayabusa. It's perfect. The balance is just right of aggression and power, and yet at the same time refinement. If it was a car, let's liken it to that sort of thing. Take modern cars, the ZX12s and stuff like that, and the other sports bikes. That's perhaps a Mitsubishi Evo. You got that brutal performance in an ordinary vehicle. But this thing's more of a BMW M5 or a Lexus, perhaps a Nissan Skyline. It's got that refinement, that pedigree, that elegance. You know, I think a Japanese vehicle can have pedigree. Certainly the Skyline does. We had a GTS Skyline for a minute, me and Penny, and they are so well nailed together. They're just like a German car with a Japanese badge. And look at Lexus. What's not to like? Who wouldn't like a Lexus? I know I would. So getting back to this old beast, what's it like to ride? Well, it's a bit of a pig really, fat old lump, kind of wide, but it doesn't feel like it. Get it moving and all the weight disappears. I know that's quite a cliche, but it does. It flicks from lock to lock beautifully. Go through some bends and everything's taut, kind of direct, instant, sudden, but in the same time nothing takes you by surprise. It's a fabulous machine. Petrol light, you know, that's it. Some bikes just evoke that feeling of a bit of class, and it ain't BMWs, I can tell you. I've ridden plenty of them. The nicest was probably a K100 RS. Lovely bike, superb. They're a bit clunky, but then it's a Beamer, they are. So what would you like to know? Liken it to something else. This is the Bandit. Now, I mean, I've had the Bandit. Let's compare it against that. I've had the Bandit now for 2 years, and it's been 18 months, 2 years. It's a lovely bike to ride. It really is. Does everything you want it to do. Great commuter bike. But it's like comparing a Sopwith Camel with a Learjet. And that really is as harsh or stark a difference as that. Hayabusa's got an effortless feel about it. Just nothing's a problem. Went for a ride with Penny and we went to Brighton to that bike show, Brightona. It's on the video list. And doing the fat end of 100 miles an hour, 2 up on an empty motorway on a sunny morning with the sun behind you. Penny was come up with a brilliant simile. She just said it's like sitting in the eye of a storm. You're sitting in this pocket of silence. The wind resistance is next to nothing because all the aerodynamics come into their own. There you go. Now that does. I just tried to flick that in on the roundabout, and it does try and resist a little bit. It truly isn't a GSXR. It is heavier, and you try and nail it down into a bend, and it just resists. You need to get your weight off it. So it just reminds you now and again that it is a heavy, big tourer bike. Anyway, back to what I was saying. It really is like sitting in silence. That everything reaches an equilibrium at a certain revs. You're looking at about 7,000 revs on the dial, just pushing 97, 98 mile an hour, just below the band line, and it's lovely. It just, everything goes quiet. All becomes rather refined, dignified, wonderful, absolutely amazing. You can just tell that if you had the road and the permission to do it, you could just wind it up to 150 plus and it would just eat it. Would love it. Would be even better. But you can't really do that on the roads. Well, not public ones anyway. It just goes up through the gears without any clunking or anything, just like it's electric. Click, 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 click. Just balance the clutch right. Amazing bike. So what could you think? I mean, let's end it like this. The word awesome is used about so many things these days, meaningless things most of the time. So is it awesome? Is a Hayabusa an awesome bike? Well, I guess you could use it. It does. I am in awe of it. Yeah, I could say I am. So it is awesome. But it's not awesome because it's brutal and scary and harsh and abrasive and all the things that you think it is from watching the YouTube stuff of people tear-assing about on turboed ones and drag racing them. No. It's not awesome because it tries to tear your arms out and give you whiplash. It's kind of awesome because it's none of those things. It doesn't have any of that. That's what makes it awesome. It does everything effortlessly and smoothly in a refined way. And I didn't expect that from it because its reputation is so much more about thuggery. More like the ZX-12. So there you go. Suzuki Hayabusa, an awesome bike. Refined, silk-like, incredibly good to ride. Tour, solo, 51 miles to the gallon at the moment. It's something that I'm going to really find hard to better, to get a bike that's more interesting. I'll own this for quite a while. So that's me. Take it easy, ride safe. I'll see you next time.